Steve Jewin for MMAmania.com. This interview with King Mo Muhammad Lawal was recorded on December 21st, 2015. Be sure to tune in as he faces Brett McDermott at Breakfast with Fedor on Spike TV the morning of New Year's Eve. Here's the interview with King Mo.
Hi, Mo. You're on with Steve Jewin, MMA Mania.
Mr. Lawal, pleasure to talk to you again today. How are you feeling?
Good, man. What's up?
Not much. Just want to talk to you about this big Ryzen tournament that you're going to be part of on New Year's Eve. It's Breakfast with Fedor, and you're going to be part of this tournament.
Oh, yeah. That's what's up.
So now there are some natural comparisons between this and the last tournament that you were in. So if you don't mind, I want to go back to Dynamite 1 for a second. And I talked to Josh Thompson recently. He said that you were all raring to go for the next fight in that tournament on Bellator 142, and you were just feeling the rib injury and couldn't come out. So is he describing it accurately?
Yeah, because the thing is, I was ready to go because I thought we'd have less time to sit in between. But, so I was trying to warm up, and the longer it went, the more the shit got worse. You know what I'm saying? It was like, I've heard about rib before. I'll be able to, go wrestle, 15, 20 minutes later because, I'm still warm. But 30 minutes into 2.5 hours, and I just couldn't go, man. I couldn't throw a punch. I couldn't do nothing, man. You know what I'm saying? It ended up being an occult fracture I had in my rib. So a lot of these motherfuckers out there are saying oh, but scared, but I'm not afraid of nothing. Fighting is my job. You know what I'm saying? I'm not risking fighting injured because I fought injured most of my career. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna give myself the best chance to win a fight. And I was going in pretty much one arm. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't throw a punch with my right arm.
People just don't understand how much a rib injury hurts. They think rib injury, they think it sounds like not as serious as tearing a muscle or blowing out a knee, but if you can't breathe and you can't move an arm, you can't fight.
Yeah, I couldn't shoot. I couldn't throw a right hand. I tried to go southpaw, I couldn't throw a jab. I couldn't grapple. I couldn't posture up. I couldn't shrimp. I couldn't do nothing, man. Because when I tried to move, my ribs started clicking. And it was clicking, and, I had cartilage and a fracture. Cartilage damage and a fracture.
I assume you're fully healed up now for Ryzen. You're going to be 100% ready to go for this next fight.
Yeah, I'm ready to go, man.
And is it a little better now that this tournament is not all in one night? Does that play to your advantage?
I don't know, because I wish it was 2 days, 2 fights the first day, and the finals, 1 fight the second, you know what I'm saying? Because that's almost better, you know what I'm saying? Like, you knock out 2 and then go give it all your 1. But now it's like you got 1, then you got a day break, and you got, you know what I'm saying, between us. So if you can keep that, but, you got 1 break, and then you got 1 day break, and you got 2 fights head on. So that's it's tough, you know what I'm saying? Tournament's never easy.
I'm sure part of the reason they're doing it this way is time constraints to make it a live broadcast. And it's interesting that it's going to be almost live in the U.S. at the same time it's going on in Japan. So I know that's got to be fun for you, knowing that fans get to see a live show from Japan.
Yeah, now some of the Mexican fans can see why fighters love being in Japan so much. They see the respect they get over there. The respect factor ain't the same here in America because everybody thinks everyone in America thinks they're a fighter. Like, as far as MMA fighter, And we're all fighters to a certain extent, but everybody in America claims that they have MMA experience or boxing experience, or I'm a world-class taper, so I've done this, but a lot of them ain't done nothing. In Japan, the people know they can't do it, so they don't boo you. If they know they can't do it, they ain't gonna boo you, unless you're a poor sportsman.
Yeah, they're very respectful crowds, especially in that venue, the Saitama Super Arena. They've had so many major shows for Pride, for New Japan Pro Wrestling. It's like the home of combat sports.
Yeah, I fought there a few times, so I'm familiar with the arena, so I'm cool with it.
So it'll be a respectful crowd. It looks to be a great tournament. And what can you tell us about your opponent in the opening round, Brett McDermott? I know he's from Bama, he's 5-2, but I don't think we've seen him in the U.S. before.
Nah, I haven't seen him, but I saw he's tough, he has heavy hands, he's big, strong, rugged, and I can't underestimate him, you know what I'm saying? While I watch him, he don't look impressive until he hits people. You know what I'm saying? He looks tough. You know what I'm saying? He's just like he's a blood and guts guy from what I see.
And he seems to have a penchant for knockouts. 4 of his 5 wins come by knockout. So he's definitely going to be going in there trying to swing for the fences.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is, I've seen other fights that's been on Sherdog that ain't. I've seen other fights on YouTube that ain't on a Sherdog record. So I don't really know how many fights he's really had. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, oh, he's only had 7 fights, but I think he's had more than 7 fights. Should be told.
Right, yeah, it's possible his record's incomplete. Sometimes it's hard to track down when fighters are from Europe, all the different places that they've been or that they've fought.
Yeah.
What about the fact that this fight takes place at heavyweight? I know you're a money-weight fighter. You've said this in interviews before, but is heavyweight actually making it easier for you to take this fight?
The fact that the paydays make it easy for me to take the fight. I'm not really worried about the weight class. Like, I'm gonna come in probably weighing about anywhere from 215 to 217. Depends if my clothes on 218. I don't really get too big, so I'm gonna be undersized. I'm gonna be strong. I'm gonna be technical. I'm gonna be quicker than the guys I'm fighting. So it's all good.
Well, of course, but I'm also thinking this advantage goes to the fact that when you have to fly to a foreign country for a fight, sometimes it's difficult to make a weight cut and be on point for that fight. And now you don't have to worry about that.
Well, when I wrestled, I had to do the same thing. I always made weight overseas. I used to wrestle 184, so they give a 2 kilo weight allowance. I used to make weight easily overseas. I'd be close to 84 pounds, 184 pounds when I get over there. So there are times we'd fly over there the day before, I'd make weight, then wrestle the next day. So, I'd be there 2 days before I actually competed. 2 or 3 days before I competed. So I'm okay with traveling and cutting weight. Say if I have to do it, I can do it.
And you don't have a record of missing weight. That's never been a part of your career. So unlike some of these fighters we've seen in UFC and World Series the last couple of weeks, that's been sort of a problem of late.
Yeah, it's just miscalculations. And some people they probably underestimate the cut. That's all it is.
But do you think anything of the recent meeting they had in California to discuss weight cutting, do you think there's going to be any changes to the rules for unified rules of mixed martial arts coming down the line?
They can try to, but it's gonna be hard unless they do either a rehydration clause with all the fights where you can't rehydrate more than a certain weight, or they do a hydration test before the fight. So like, before the fight signs, we have to do a hydration test. It has to be hydrated before like they do in college wrestling. College wrestling, they have a hydration test, and then they do a formula. So if you're 150 pounds, the lowest you can get down to is before the cutoff is like 157.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You can only lose like 1.5 pounds or 1.5% of your body weight a week. They do stuff like that. That's how they do college wrestling.
Right, and one of the proposals I heard was that it could be like the day you weigh in, you can only be 10% more than that the next day for the fight. I think that'd be fair.
Yeah, it'll be fair, but to me it makes no difference because if a dude can make weight, if they can make weight, put on weight, then they can make weight. That's how I see it. Now, if they're mixing weight, different story. But if someone's consistently making weight and getting big, then they master the weight cut. You know what I'm saying? Some people can do that. I used to cut from 210 to 184 pounds. I mean, took about 215 to 184 pounds. And guess what? After I weighed in, the next day I'd be 212, 213. And I was consistent like that, but I never missed weight. I always made weight, so it's just natural. That's the thing for me to do is get big like that.
Yeah, well,
I'm still in the same weight I was years ago, so.
You've got it down to a science. I can't question that. No doubt about it. So you're going to be on weight, ready, and more than willing to take this fight in Japan. And what do you think about the fact that Fedor is coming out of retirement to take a fight in the main event of this card?
I think it's great, man. Every time you see Fedor fight, regardless of who it is, it's always super special because Fedor's he's a hell of an athlete, a hell of a fighter, and he has a fighter's mentality. So wherever he's fighting is in trouble.
Yeah, if he's like the Fedor of old that we saw in the legendary days of Pride, anybody that's matched up with him is going to get hurt. But one of those things that people always wonder about Fedor is that he's kind of small for a heavyweight, and you're pretty big for a light heavyweight that, like you said, you mastered the cut and you get down to light heavyweight pretty easy. But can you see some point in the future where you might be fighting Fedor?
If I have the opportunity, I'd love to fight Fedor. I'm not the one to call Fedor out because people I've done interviews and they're like, would you fight Fedor? I'm like, yeah, I'd love to fight Fedor. Then the next year I know King Mo calls out Fedor or they twist my words, you know what I'm saying? But I'm not the one to call Fedor out because he's a legend. You know what I'm saying? But if I had the opportunity to fight Fedor, I would take it.
Well, we definitely won't put it down in this interview that you called out Fedor, but I think you're right. A lot of people would like that fight if they got the opportunity. In fact, the only person I've heard actually call him out is Bobby Lashley. He very much wanted to fight in Japan, and it just didn't work out that way.
Yeah, Bobby Lashley has something to prove. You know what I'm saying? Like, Bobby Lashley is a bona fide heavyweight. I'm not one, so I'm not bona fide. I can fight heavyweight, but I'm not bona fide heavyweight. So it looks stupid for me to call out the legendary Fedor Emelianenko. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a true heavyweight. Because then the people just dismiss it. You know what I'm saying? Now, as an opportunity for my lap, then I would take it. But that'd be like somebody at 170 calling me out. Oh, I fight King Mo. Okay, well, what, does that sound legit? No. You know what I'm saying?
Right, absolutely, yeah. So you got to make sense. You got to be the guy that's fit naturally in the weight to call out the weight, and got to be a guy that's got something to prove, like you said. So sometimes these call-outs don't make sense. In fact, I kind of sometimes wonder with Conor McGregor calling out guys at welterweight, are you certifiably insane, Conor? What are you talking about?
Well, it's not that. It's not. I don't think it's insane. I think that he's just trying to build a buzz. Like for instance, like people got mad at me because I said I was like, don't compare Conor McGregor to Ali. Because I'm like, Conor McGregor's Conor McGregor, not Ali. Like, if you want to compare to Cassius Clay, cool, because there's a lot of similarities. But Ali is an icon. You know what I'm saying? He started a movement. He was a big figure in the movement, civil rights movement. He did a lot of things for people. You know what I'm saying? But I wouldn't say compare Conor McGregor to Ali. Compare with Cassius Clay, because there are more similarities between those two than there are him and Ali.
That's fair. I think that's true, and I think the braggadocious style can definitely be compared between the two of them. The self-promoting style, the banter, but you're right. He's not leading a civil rights movement. He's not changing the world or giving up his heavyweight title just to prove a point. Not really the same thing.
So Cassius Clay, perfect though. Cassius Clay was a young Ali, Olympic champion. But it's hard to compare anybody against Olympic champion, but Cassius Clay was, young, Olympic champion, brash. Made predictions made predictions. Conor McGregor the same thing. So I'm like, you can compare those two to each other, but once he became Ali, he became a different person.
Going back to this tournament, there are some interesting names in here that you could be fighting in the next round. Guys like Satoshi Ishii, Goran Relchik, Vadim Nemkov. Any predictions, thoughts on those guys going forward?
Nah, it's a tough bunch over there from what I see. I like Goran Relchik. Ishii's cool. Nemkov, I'm familiar with his brother, but Nemkov's, he's talented. Not much film on him for a bet. You know what I'm saying? He's only 3-0, I think, or 4-0. But he has a combat sambo experience, and supposedly because of Fedor, so he'll be really ready. You just never know. You never know what's going to happen with injuries or upsets, and you never know what's going to happen.
Speaking of injuries and upsets, going back to the Bellator tournament again, you were on your way and it looked like you were going to win that tournament, but we know that you got sidelined with the rib injury. So what did you think when you saw Francis Carmont and Phil Davis instead of you?
I never got a chance to watch the fight, to be truthful. I was in the hospital. I had to go to my ribs. So the ribs got bad. I had to they gave me a shot of Toradol, and I was in pain, man. But I heard that Phil got the KO. But Carmont was in a tough war with the Anthony Ruiz. You know what I'm saying? So, it was a tough fight he had, but, I guess he just wasn't ready. And two, I thought, part of it's my fault because I was trying to stay warm, but by the time I told him, hey, I won't be able to go, it was too late. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's nothing he could have done to get ready, because I was trying to hold on thinking that it's going to, I was under the impression these fights going to end quick. But all the fights after my fight went to a damn decision.
You're right.
So I was like, man, I was trying to tour but staying warm, but it probably was my fault that, he went out there like that and got stopped like that. Nothing taking that away from Phil Davis, because he fought phenomenally in the finals, but Carmont could have, if he had a better chance to warm up, and it would have been better.
Well, we talked before about having something to prove if you're a guy that's matched up naturally with another guy. Do you think now, maybe since you won your tournament fight but didn't get to go all the way in the tournament, you've got something to prove maybe with a fight Phil Davis at some point?
I'd love to fight with Phil Davis. I'm hoping that happens. We just got to see what Bellator has in mind with us, after the beginning of the next year. I don't know, I know Liam's there. We have a bunch of guys there at 205. Wendy fight's even an option, heavyweight's an option, but right now I gotta see what Bellator has in mind, because they call out some fights, but just main events. They never have the rest of the card full. You know what I'm saying? Like, think about the Kimbo fights, the Dada and the Ken Shamrock versus Horace Gracie fight. That card, I love the fight on that card. You know what I'm saying? But just gotta see.
That's going to be an amazing card. And what do you think about the fact, that Ken and Hoyce are still fighting at their age after all this time?
You know what? I think it's great. If they're clear to fight, and they want to fight, and they want to get paid to fight, let them. The people, the thing is, it's not like pay-per-view, it's free. So people can be snobs and complain and be like, oh, why are they fighting? Well, they're fighting because they have the opportunity to. You know what I'm saying? Like, if they want to be picky, then they ain't got to watch it. It's not like Bellator's asking to pay for it. It's free on Spike TV.
Right, yeah, it's not $54.95 on pay-per-view. It's not really that hard. You either turn it on or you don't.
Yeah, you know how people are. Like they want to be stuck up and act like they're too good for stuff. You know what I'm saying? But you know, it's whatever. You know, people just slave to a brand. You know what I'm saying?
Being entertained by fights, and I think that at the bottom of
fights, yeah.
Go ahead.
No, but I was agreeing with you. Being entertained by fights. You know what I'm saying? Fuck a brand. You go out there and be entertained by fights. You know what I'm saying? If you ain't got to pay for it, just tune in and watch it free.
I think we've pretty much hit all the marks I wanted to hit, but, you know, I always like to give you this chance to promote anything that you want to promote, social media, sponsors, teammates, anything you want to shout out. So, King Mo, the floor is yours.
Man, I'm just thank you for interviewing me, man. Nothing else. That's all it is.
Well, I always appreciate it. You always give me great answers, and it's always fun to talk to you. So I hope everything goes smoothly in your preparations to head over to Japan, and I hope you have a great showing at Rising on New Year's Eve on Breakfast with Fedor.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. And Danny, thanks for setting up the call.
All right, Steve. Thanks a lot, man.
Yep. Talk to you later.